America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
and by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture. Coming up, Nebraska farmers bring in the harvest as wheat takes a high profile on the world food stage. A special school in Kentucky. These students use old world skills for modern equine needs. And farm communities in Kansas lay claim to famous art and the Garden of Eden. America's Heartland is next.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
Hi, I'm Paul Ryan, and welcome to America's Heartland, coming to you today from the National Agricultural Center and Hall of Fame located here in Bonner Springs, Kansas, 18 miles west of Kansas City. It was chartered by Congress in 1960 and signed into existence by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. It's a place to learn all about the history of agriculture and how it touches our everyday lives. And we'll have more from this location in just a bit. But first, we'll meet some Nebraska farmers who are bringing in a harvest of wheat that will soon be making its way to your dinner table.
There's no mystery about the major Heartland crop growing in a state where residents are nicknamed Cornhuskers.
What, do you think we should try some today? Yeah, I think it might work today.
Come fall, Delford Schlake uses his combine to harvest corn. But corn's not his only crop. Experience has taught him that crop diversity is key to staying afloat in a business laden with uncertainties.
There's kind of an old saying, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So yes, in that respect, if you have dry weather or you have a hailstorm, you might get your wheat hailed out, but then maybe you have your corn crop survive. Most of it's still standing pretty good.
Wheat is one of the crops that Delford raises on his 1,900-acre farm in southeast Nebraska.
Well, it looks pretty good.
This year, the weather was good and Delford's crop did not get hailed out.
It might be a few days off.
So in early July, he heads to his fields to harvest the winter wheat that was planted last fall.
There's a shrunken kernel there. That'll blow out the back. There's 6 classes of wheat. In each of those classes of wheat, there's different varieties, but each wheat has a different function.
Wheat is a critical element in the U.S. agricultural economy, and it plays an important role in the diets of people around the world. 1 acre of the grain can produce enough wheat for more than 2,000 loaves of bread. Wheat is a major farm product in the U.S. today, but it wasn't until the late 1800s that wheat cultivation really flourished in America. That's when a hardy strain known as Turkey Red was introduced by Russian immigrants who settled in the Midwest. Descendant varieties of that early wheat are raised across the heartland. Hard red winter wheat, grown here on Delford's farm, is one of the major wheat crops in the United States.
Winter wheat is planted in the fall. For our location, that is the best, most adaptable for this area of the country. From here on, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and into Nebraska is winter wheat.
Delford's is a family farm. His kids are grown and gone, but live close enough to lend a hand when needed. His youngest son, Brent, is a commodities broker and risk management specialist. At harvest time, you'll find him home.
A lot of the off time on the farm I can spend working, but then like the busy season during planting and harvesting and a lot of time during the summer I can spend working with the family farm.
Well, family farm is usually you and your sons and your wife working on the farm. Well, that definition of family farm is probably gradually changing.
Both of the Schleich boys have college degrees in areas that help when it comes to agriculture. Oldest son David is the sales manager for a seed company in Lincoln. That is, when he's not lending his professional skills to the family operation.
I'm their agronomist, their crop consultant, help with the planting. They buy seed for me, so I'm their seed supplier. And then I also, whenever I get a chance, I'll help with the day-to-day operations and help when I can.
Whether it's raising wheat, corn, or soybeans, David and Brent bring with them modern approaches to farming. Take technology, for example. In this case, a gadget that delivers details on what they need for planting, spraying, and weeding.
Oh, what'd you find out?
Well, mainly just grass out there, no insects. We have some volunteer corn, and there's just a few extra other spots that are where we have a few more weeds than normal, and I marked them on the map.
Delford and his sons believe that technology has given them new options in farming decisions.
What about that corn out there, volunteer corn?
I wouldn't worry about the volunteer
GPS
corn.
systems to more effectively plant and harvest, or yield monitors to track productivity.
So for the most part, everything looks good, and just need it to rain.
I suppose back when my dad was farming, he thought horses, that, you'd always be farming with horses, but you have to be open-minded. There's going to be something you don't know about that will change.
Once his wheat has been harvested, Dilford will move on to the next cycle, rotating crops to get nourishing feed for his cattle.
I'll have to maybe plant some Sudan grass or something in the wheat after I combine the wheat, and maybe get some cattle feed for that. So each year is different, and each year you have to try to guess what the markets are going to be, or what what you need for the winter for the cows.
That ever-changing landscape of input costs and commodity prices is the reality for farmers and ranchers all across the Heartland.
Farmers are always kind of like holding their breath. We know that the price of wheat can go down, but we don't know that the price of fuel will go down, the price of fertilizer will go down. It seems like when those prices go up, they tend to stay.
As for the future, the seasons and crops may change, but Delford believes his direction was set a long time ago.
I grew up on the farm, and it's a way of life for me. It's a good life.
Nebraska farmers will tell you that wheat is a good source of protein, dietary fiber, and complex carbohydrates. But the Cornhusker State is famous for another food product, found perhaps in your home. Back in 1927, Nebraskan Edwin Perkins changed his soft drink syrup into a powder to make it easier to ship, and Kool-Aid was invented. Still to come on America's Heartland. A Kentucky school turns out students with special skills to meet the needs of Heartland horse farms. And 2 rural Kansas communities draw visitors looking for unusual attractions.
We're back now at the National Agricultural Center and Hall of Fame here in Bonner Springs, Kansas, and I'm joined by Lee Sigley, and you are the center's educational coordinator. First off, why in the world do we need a Hall of Fame for agriculture?
Well, we have found out through various opportunities that people have either forgotten or just aren't aware of what agriculture entails, of what goes into producing food and fiber that they use in everyday life.
And so this museum is going to show those folks all about agriculture?
We examine a lot of different aspects of agriculture. We were focused on the past. We are trying to make that leap into showing what current issues and steps in agriculture are, what we may have to face in the future. We are here to honor individuals for outstanding contributions to agriculture. We are also here to educate the public about why agriculture is important. We make it as engaging and interactive as we can. We try and get them involved, not just to show them or to talk about it, but get them involved in activities to do.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back at this location for more in just a bit. But first, and speaking of education, we found a unique school in Kentucky that draws students from all over the world.
The unmistakable sound
I've always wanted to work with horses. I'm following my dream.
of a farrier in training. In case you didn't know, a farrier is a blacksmith, in particular one who specializes in horses and horseshoes. It's the very essence of this school in Mount Eden, Kentucky, a place where back-breaking work and the love of all things equine meld together.
We've put a lot of time and effort and research into developing our program.
Owner Mitch Taylor has spent the past 20 years creating the coursework that takes raw students and starts them on the road to becoming experts in the field.
Then we're going to go about halfway up and bend it in that way.
Students learn every aspect of the farrier trade in a comprehensive curriculum.
So that's the whole reason that we do that. I don't need that much.
There's classroom instruction,
We need good lateral and good dorsal palmar x-rays.
lessons on equine anatomy,
What put this horse down is he's got a fractured coffin bone.
and intense hands-on training. How to make proper-fitting horseshoes is a major part of the program. Student Martino Squarcina came from Italy to attend the school.
You always have to hit the steel in the right spot. But we are here for learn, and we got the best teachers.
Think it's easy to bang a piece of steel into a custom-shaped shoe? Think again. Mitch and his staff teach different skills in coursework that runs from 8 to 22 weeks. Everything from basic forging to hoof trimming to shoe shaping.
Now take your sharp edges off all the way around.
Mitch is a certified journeyman farrier with more than 30 years' experience. He saw a demand for competent professionals to handle the needs of ranchers, farmers, and equine enterprises. Ill-fitted shoes for horses can promote leg and hoof problems, critical in horse racing, but also important to all levels of show and work animals. So every few weeks, a new batch of wannabe blacksmiths travel near and far to the heart of horse country to learn this centuries-old trade.
I love it. It's been a blast for me, and I've learned so much.
Jennifer Daniels, who hails from California, is the lone female in this current class. She says the 22-week program has been grueling, but feels confident in her future as a professional farrier.
I think it's kind of, in a way, cemented a career path for me, because there's a lot of variations that I can do with this.
Before a student can ever shoe a live horse, they must first practice with one of these cadaver legs. Now, it might sound gross, but this gives them the opportunity to make as many mistakes as they want without injuring the animal.
They're real legs that have been harvested, frozen. We then clean them.
Mitch says these practice procedures help students gain confidence in their skills.
You know, we're using sharp tools to knife out the foot and nip and rasp the foot down. And if you're not aware of what's going on, you can trim too much and make horses really sore.
The coursework demands students pass sequential tests as they move through the program. After 22 weeks, it's expected they know how to make every variety of horseshoe seen on this board. Not everyone makes the cut.
Well, we started with, I think there was 19 of us all together. And apparently, we've been like quite a good group, but there's only 10 of us left.
Colin Gallagher is a student visiting from Ireland. He says the coursework has been mentally and physically challenging. He chose the Kentucky school because of its reputation and accelerated program. Back home, he'd have to spend 4 years in farrier school.
It's a short period, 6 months. You just have to put your head down and do the work, you know?
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Conrad.
How you doing? Good.
Conrad Troe remembers his days as a farrier in training. The certified journeyman now runs his own business, making house calls to more than 125 clients.
It's going real good. I can't complain. It was a good choice. Best choice I ever did.
Conrad stays busy with close to 300 horses being shod every 5 to 6 weeks. On this visit with 10-year-old OK Cutter, Conrad trims up his feet, removes the excess growth, shapes up the hoof, and reshoes the horse. The whole process takes about a half an hour.
Well, it looks easy when you know what you're doing, but it takes a lot of years of training to do that.
And like any good farrier, Conrad sometimes makes his horseshoes from scratch. Using a 13-inch piece of steel, he shows us the intricate bending, twisting, and hammering.
That's how we make those shoes just every day.
Yeah, a good farrier is very important, because if they mess your horse up, you've got months before you can ride again.
I think if you maintain it correctly and you work hard at it and you're meticulous, as you say, yes, you can do a good living as a horseshoer.
Stories of Conrad's success permeate throughout the building at the Kentucky Horseshoeing School. It lets these students know their efforts are not in vain.
It's tough business, it's tough work. You're working for yourself, and you have to get out there every single day and get your clients and keep them all happy.
Mitch hopes to build a bigger, better school in Lexington one day, a so-called Harvard of horseshoeing. It will help him accomplish his lifelong dream, to further the development of future farriers here and abroad.
I just would just assume be underneath the horseshoeing horses, because that's what I truly love. It really is a team effort. So I have to, just give everybody credit, because I certainly couldn't do it without them.
Horseshoes were one of the first items used for recycling. Back in the 1800s, worn-out horseshoes were turned into horseshoe nails, and worn-out horseshoe nails were melted into musket barrels. And before there were metal horseshoes, early Asian horsemen used leather booties to protect their horses' hooves.
Time now to teach you something you may not have known about agriculture. The scarecrow wasn't always that straw-stuffed figure you know from The Wizard of Oz. Before there were stick-figured scarecrows, farmers in the Middle Ages placed children in their fields with bags of rocks to throw at those seed-stealing crows. Unfortunately, the plagues that swept across Europe killed young and old alike, forcing a shortage of rock-throwing field hands. So, farmers resorted to putting faux folks in the field, tricking the crows to believe that these straw men would be just as dangerous. It worked, even without a brain.
We're back now at the National Agricultural Center and Hall of Fame here in Bonner Springs, Kansas, and I'm joined by the center's director, Tim Doherty. And Tim, what is this building that we're in? And this covers virtually the entire history of farming, at least the equipment anyway.
This is what we call the Museum of Farming. We have equipment and tools from clear back in the 1700s until right up to modern history.
A centerpiece of the machinery here is this gleaming green tractor, a 1918 model from a then newcomer called John Deere.
It begins an era of a company that all of us see every day in agriculture, and it's very important. So this is one of my favorite pieces.
And Tim, this is not the only John Deere you have here. You have the first one that was marketed as a John Deere tractor, with the name on it.
That's correct. The first tractor that was actually a John Deere from the ground up and marketed as a John Deere is the Spoker D.
And then you have a beautifully restored Alice Chalmers down?
That's correct. It's an Alice Chalmers RC. And the Alice Chalmers RC was Alice Chalmers' first drive toward a row crop tractor, away from the heavy tillage tractors to the tractor that could be used in the field after the crop had been planted.
These labor-saving pieces of machinery were a big improvement on this mule-powered plow, which actually has a presidential pedigree.
One of my other favorite pieces is we have the plow that was Harry Truman's plow when he grew up on the farm.
He had a kind of an interesting outlook on plowing the field. He said you look back and you can actually see what you have accomplished.
That's important because when you look at Harry Truman's life, to be able to reflect back on those days on the farm and realize this is what I accomplished, as opposed to so many times it's hard to actually see I can measure what I did today.
Truman's reflection on the tangible nature of farm work is an important reminder during this 21st century.
As generations move on, we continue to get further and further from the farm. People don't understand, like they used to, about where does our food come from? What are the processes that we go through to raise the food that we eat on a daily basis?
Well, Tim, thanks for joining us. And while yours is a wonderful place where you can come and learn all about the history of farming, it's not the only museum to be found in a Kansas farm community. And one in particular is mighty unusual.
The Heartland has its share of odd roadside attractions. North Dakota's Enchanted Highway with its giant metal sculptures. California's got 20 feet tall cutouts of farm workers. But Kansas?
Both of his concrete flags have 48 stars on them and a turkey.
Well, Kansas seems to have more than its fair share. Outside of Kansas City, there's a giant fiberglass chicken.
The chicken.
In the small town of Goodland sits an 80-foot tall replica of Vincent van Gogh's 3 sunflowers in a vase painting, one of only 7 around the world. And if you think a giant painting is odd, well, just keep driving east on Interstate 70 to the town of Lucas.
And he used 113 tons of concrete on the project.
And the Garden of Eden, not the one from the Bible, the Garden of Eden created by S.P. Dinsmore at the beginning of the 20th century. After retiring from teaching and farming, Dinsmore moved into the city, as it were, to build a log cabin made out of concrete, new in those days, and after that, he continued making all sorts of interesting things out of concrete.
Some of these sculptures range 40 feet up in the air. And this one is the Goddess of Liberty.
The Goddess of Liberty, that's an octopus there, I see.
That depicts the big businesses. She's trying to destroy it with a spear down through its head.
Oh my gosh.
And then the man and woman have a saw that says ballot on it, trying to use their voting rights to destroy big businesses.
Here's the working man getting pulled in different directions.
The laborer is a farmer. He's working with his hands for his money, and the people around are taking money from him, taking his money and crucifying him.
It's a religious and political message.
Right,
huh?
Yeah.
And we've got the doctor, lawyer, preacher, and banker.
Right, and he said those 4 maybe were the leaders, but weren't all of them.
Dinsmore loved the attention from visitors to his Garden of Eden. He drew them in for miles around with his fanciful work in concrete.
People were coming to see it. They were coming off the railroad trains. People were driving here from all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world.
To keep getting his message across, he even came up with a plan to draw visitors after he died. Inside this giant cement structure lies Dinsmore's body, mummified with charcoal in a glass coffin. His will says anyone is invited to come in and see the body as long as they pay $1 to keep the Garden of Eden going.
He's been dead 75 years, and his body is viewable.
And he wanted people to see the body?
Right, yes. And we do ask that no pictures be taken inside. The family requests that.
So the camera stays outside, but we can go in, huh?
Right.
Wow.
His vision as far as people coming to see his body is what keeps the sculptures protected and preserved then.
If the sight of a mummified man entombed in cement leaves you needing some grounding, you can truly get centered nearby. The geographic center of the United States is about an hour or so up the road. Just follow Highway 191 until it ends, and you'll be at the center of the U.S., well, the center of the lower 48 states.
Well, perhaps it's quite fitting that the geographic center of the lower 48 states is completely surrounded by farm fields here in rural Kansas. And if you happen to be searching for salvation while looking for the center of the lower 48 states, your prayers are answered. Right here on site is the 6 feet by 8 feet U.S. Center Chapel. It's tiny, but inside completely functional, complete with pews, a Bible already opened up to a Bible verse, and of course, Kansas travel brochures.
According to the sign, there are souvenirs in the nearby town of Lebanon. In all honesty, there's not a lot going on out here. A place for picnics, an old abandoned motel nearby. But if you're looking for giant flowers, cement marvels, or just need to get centered, well, Kansas is your place.
Well, I don't think you'll find very much that's odd or even out of place here at the National Agricultural Center and Hall of Fame. Just a lot of history and education. Even this little train takes children and adults around to a turn-of-the-century rural village known as Farmtown. There's no question how agriculture has shaped this nation's past, and by the looks of what we see here, we're right on track for even stronger roots in the future. That's our show for today. Oh. I'm Paul Ryan, thanks for watching, and we want to see you next time right here in America's heartland. Okay, Tim, down the track we go.
There's much more on America's Heartland at our website, including video on the stories from today's show. You can also give us your feedback. Just log on to americasheartland.org. And to order a copy of this broadcast, visit us online or call 1-888-814-3923. The cost is $14.95 plus shipping.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
and by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture.